Okay, we're coming to you live once again from Boca Raton, Florida. Larry Mastropieri, real estate broker and owner of the Mastropieri Group, joining myself, and I, John Laws of Discover South Florida. And, people kind of were jumping on our case. They're like, all right, you're talking about Pompano, you're talking about Boca Raton. It's like, well, what about Deerfield Beach? And I was like, well, what about Deerfield Beach? What do we care? And then, things kind of escalated and, maybe a few fists were thrown, but in the end, we decided it was probably in the best interest of everyone down here that likes to learn about South Florida to talk about Deerfield Beach. So here we are.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. But before we get into that, we have some positive news to talk about with what's been happening in the real estate world. This is a recent recap of Realtor.com's market news. They have a recap for the week ending in December 6th. And according to their reports, a labor market update. Hiring rebound in November. Hourly wages growing by 4%. People are partying in the streets. Everything is good. Larry, what was your takeaway from the Realtor.com market news? There's a lot here.
So we decided we were going to talk about Realtor.com's recent market news or predictions and Redfin, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about both those, and we can give our hot take on all this, and I'm curious to hear your hot take on this too. So generally speaking, Realtor.com overall was, I don't know, more optimistic than I actually had expected. But to your point, it was interesting to see both Redfin and Realtor.com, and I think most people think we're going to get a rate cut from the Fed. That doesn't necessarily mean that mortgage rates will come down, but it's a good signal and it pushes in that direction. And, over the past, 3 months, we've seen rates come down and then go back up again recently. And now we're sitting in the, 6.7% range, according to the Realtor.com notes here. Right. Mm-hmm. So we saw a lot of people come to the market in September, October as rates were dropping, right? And then things slowed up again as the rates went back up again in November. And so there's truth to the fact that, even a half point move really impacts the real estate market, right? Mortgage rates wise, a quarter point move from the FOMC is a different discussion. But when it comes to mortgage rates, we've seen, a half point to, 750 bips on mortgage rates, and it moved the market a bit. Like, we got some more action according to the data. I would say even when the rates dropped for us, me and my investment partners, we immediately started looking at things as well, and we were trying to beat the market before maybe rates went back up again to buy something, right? So and then as soon as rates went back up again, we got less, active as well. Like, we were just like, okay, we can hang out for a minute right now. So there's reality that these rates are really impacting even a half point. And so that's what we saw overall, and that's what they're saying here, right? They talked about home sales, pending home sales. Ticked up 2% in October as buyers took advantage of low rates earlier in the month. Mortgage rates were near 6.1% at the start of October, but they reached 6.7% by the end of the month, bouncing back from September's lows to the highest levels since August. And again, that impacted things a little bit.
Right.
What was interesting is new home sales dropped sharply in October after strong showing in September. Again, same thing, rate driven. The number of new homes sold fell 610,000 on a seasonably adjusted annual basis, down 17.3% from September of 2024. That's a substantial drop, right? Mm-hmm. And down 9.4% from October of 2023. So that's kind of interesting. Here's some other thoughts here. In October 2024, the U.S. median rent continued to decline year over year for the 15th month in a row, down $14 or 0.8% year over year for 0 to 2 bedroom properties in the 50 largest metros in the U.S. So that was pretty interesting too. So we are feeling that as well. Not substantial drops in the rental market, but things are softening in the rental market for sure. And again, this activity or this situation varies between cities. In certain areas like South Florida, things are still stronger, I would argue, than other cities overall, right? Cities like, I was just in Jacksonville recently looking at apartment buildings, and I was talking to them about, or these brokers and these owners about, what their occupancy is, what their vacancy rate is, right? And they surprised me by saying their vacancy rates were higher than South Florida's rates. I guess I should have expected that, but it's back to increasing inventory in the rental market, and it's just a different market overall out there versus South Florida is very dense, and not a lot of room to build affordable housing. So again, this varies, but overall, I think everybody's seeing a softening in the market, and that's what Realtor.com is showing. This is interesting here. The housing market forecast in 2025, modest gains in home sales and prices are expected in 2025. The past year brought up a surprising upward trend in home price growth, despite the persistence of high mortgage rates and rising inventory. So they're saying they expect prices to go up a little bit, slightly. And I'd say maybe. I could see it. I could see it being continuing on the same trend we're on, which is even keel, right? Not much going on as far as massive price growth. So that's interesting.
One of my questions as I'm looking over some of these statistics is the fact that they include the rental market stats. In your experience, and I know you pore over these numbers a lot, do you see ever correlations with the rental market and the housing market? Or is it just one of those, they seem to be pretty independent of each other and you just kind of take it at face value?
Well, they talk a little bit about that, and Redfin makes some predictions around this too, around rent versus buy. Like, what should you do? So yeah, they're correlated in some way, shape, or form. If housing prices, as far as rentals go, if rental prices are out of whack, they're very high, you're going to see more people try to lean into go buy, right? Because if there's a little bit more affordability. So it's always a question of where are you in the country, and what is more reasonable to do? Like, does it make more sense to buy, or does it make more sense to rent financially, right? And there's rent versus buy calculators. So they're definitely connected. And so I think what we're seeing is rental prices. People may disagree with this, but this is how I felt. Rental prices seem to hang out stronger for longer. I felt like sale prices started to soften a little bit sooner because it's very interest rate driven, right? So when the interest rates started climbing up, that started to hurt sale prices pretty quickly or acutely. But the rental prices, they were, right away the same still. Like, it was fine. But now over time, as interest rates remain high, the cost of everything remains high due to increased interest rates. Well, we're seeing rental rate softening too, right? And so I think that lagged a bit. Now, some people could disagree with me, but that's how I felt it happened, or as things changed in this market. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my only other question before we move on to Redfin's 2025 market predictions is the Fed rate cuts. I mean, is that the all to end all in terms of getting everything back on track? Because some people say it's not, obviously the economy is a little more complex than that, but from your experience, I mean, is that, you said that 0.5% made a noticeable difference. So would you anticipate seeing that happening?
Are you asking, do I think
I'm asking, do you think would another cut have that much of a positive impact?
I think we got to be careful about, first off, to your point, this is way more complicated than even the people that are making these decisions are having a hard time making these decisions, I think, right? Because the economic system is just so complex. But overall, I think we got to be careful to just say we want lower interest rates, because the lower interest rates create possibly more inflation, and
Right.
we don't want inflation. So, but maybe this is the right way out of things. Maybe it's too costly to own things, and we need to dial it back. Also, high interest rates being too high for too long could stifle the economy, and that's not good either. We need investment in things, and if it costs too much to borrow stuff, we can't invest, right? So I don't pretend to know the answer here, but I would just say, yeah, if you
Come on, you're on
drop
the.
the
You
interest
have to
rates,
pretend to know the answer. It's part of the deal.
if you drop the interest rates today, dude, like that would really create a situation where the market might move quite a bit. Like, and I might mean drop the interest rate. I mean, go back to 3%. There's going to be chaos, right? The inventory is still relatively low, at least where we are, and so like lower interest rates are just going to spur more buying, and it's going to unlock the buyers or the owners of property that are holding a current 3% rate mortgage that won't move to their next house or relocate or do whatever they're going to do. So it's going to, there's a lot involved there. So moving interest rates a little bit down will help the brokerage business for sure. Will help some investors short term. I think it's all about you're playing the game at that point. And so yeah. So it's tough.
All right. So as mentioned, Redfin, they like to do updates and predictions as well. And here we are at the end of the 2024 calendar year. And Redfin was like, hey, you know what? We've got a lot of predictions here. I mean, we have a whole list of predictions. And we will touch on the beginning here. So they kind of highlighted, starting out with home sales expected to increase in 2025. You have high home prices and mortgage rates near 7%. They believe it will force some would-be buyers to opt for renting instead. Flat rental prices and rising wages are expected to improve rental affordability. All right, Larry, we're looking over a lot of predictions here. And what goes through your mind when you see this list?
Who knows?
I mean, I'm guessing, I'm picturing like they were going down the list, like each person on staff. It's like, all right, what's your stat? Well, I saw this, so I predicted it. We gotta fill the blogs.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Fill the blogs. That's the answer. So let's see. Let's talk about it. Okay. We'll pick them out, right? 4% median home sale price growth forecasted in 2025. I feel like it'll be less, but yeah, somewhere in that space. Again, who knows what the new administration will do to improve that? Who knows what new black swan events may or may not occur in 2025? So there's all these crazy things that could happen. I don't know, say status quo. I think at least here in South Florida, I think things are going to continue to be relatively calm, like even keel price wise. And then and especially if mortgage rates, as they predict, will stay near 7%. Mortgage rates are likely to average around 6.8% in 2025. That's interesting. I don't think that's a bad thing overall. I think we need to continue to have this like steady, not fluctuating crazy drop to 3% type environment. It's hard to make business decisions when things are going all over the map. So I think that's good. And I probably agree with that. I think sixes. Probably. I don't think it gets lower than sixes. That's my guess, but who knows? Increase in home sales by year end at annualized rate between 4.1 million to 4.4 million. Existing home sales are projected to rise by 2% to 9%, with pent up demand offsetting affordability challenges. The sales surge may accelerate if mortgage rates drop unexpectedly. Of course. Yeah. And I think that's what we were just talking about. So, and pent up demand is a real thing. I think there's not a lot of inventory, especially in the market we're in. And we could use some more inventory, but it ain't happening. So that's where we're at. As you mentioned, renters market in 2025. I mean, yeah, I think it's a little bit like in certain asset classes, or we'll call it property types, like condos seem to have softening rents faster. If you own a duplex in like a workforce housing neighborhood, if you will, like a blue collar neighborhood, those duplexes or those rentals tend to be stronger right now than condos that you may own and be renting out. So, and that is very obvious to me. And I think that'll continue to be the case. So if you're going to go out and you want to rent something and you want to rent a condo, that seems to be an opportunity for a prospective tenant right now. I see prices just dropping and they're not moving. And again, we're in December, so all of our opinions are based on December right now. And December is a weird month to be releasing property. Sometimes it's a great month to be selling. Sometimes it's an annoying month to be selling property. So sometimes it's a great month to be a buyer because, you might find this unique opportunity in December. So
that's been sitting on the market all year, and it's like, oh, we got to get this unloaded before the end of 24.
Get it off the books. No, I'd say, because sometimes people are distracted during the holidays, and the selling season in South Florida is more like late January, February, March, April, May, and so things, sometimes we've gotten some buyers some unique opportunities right now, but also we've had some listings where we just crushed it over asking price sales. So like it's just like very funky in December. Sometimes it's not a problem at all. It depends on the property type again, and what you have to offer and how cooperative or teamwork oriented the seller is, if you will, like if they're preparing the house properly, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah. So anyway, that's interesting. This
is a long list.
This is a long list, but I wanted to mention this so we can keep it moving. Wealthy buyers will pay less in commissions. That was interesting. We haven't seen that in South Florida at all. There was another one here. Climate risks to affect coastal Florida home prices, which is interesting. So climate-driven risk. Yeah,
I was going to say, let's go back to the wealthy buyers. That's kind of an interesting point. Why would you make that kind of prediction? So you're saying that wealthy homeowners that are looking to sell or whatever, that the commissions are negotiable and they're going to negotiate that you're going to get less commission? Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, but I'll tell you, like in my experience and just working in this very high-end market here in Boca Raton / South Florida, it doesn't feel that way.
Well, I just what an odd prediction. I almost feel like there's no statistics. As we've gone down this list, virtually every one of them has, a cause and effect to it, or maybe even a statistic that's like, because of this recent trend will lead to this. That one is just kind of just there. It's like, you know what? I don't think wealthy buyers are going to pay commission anymore. I think they're tired of it. They just don't want to do it.
That was one of the writers that was like smoking a joint in the office and it was pinpoint asked the question.
It was Friday at like 3:00. Like, oh yeah, like everybody sending their prediction in an email to the editor to throw on the list. Yeah. Okay. I'm, not to totally get off track. That was just kind of a random thing.
And James, moving to South Florida, just dropped a note here. Right. Are you seeing impact from downward pressure on rental prices affecting the corporate purchases? So affecting corporate purchases. I'm trying to understand exactly what you're getting at here, James. Impact from downward pressure on rental prices affecting corporate purchases. I'm not sure exactly what you're getting at, but I'll speak to a couple things here. I would say if we're talking about, and feel free to elaborate, James. If we're talking about just like investors, bigger investors buying property in South Florida, for some reason, there's guys out there that are just still buying. And by guys, I mean like bigger fund, like small funds in the area, whatever, buying real estate in South Florida because they believe in the future of it, because the inventory is so tight here for access to, call it like, I don't know, 20 unit, 100 unit apartment buildings or units. Yeah.
I mean, that's why you seem to be, you just said you were looking at some places in Jacksonville. Is part of the reason for that is because there's such limited selections, in this market?
Yeah. And it's funny, we've done this analysis and we said, okay, we can go buy, we'll buy anywhere in Florida now. Let's do that. And when we think about that, we say, but we're not as willing to pay up for stuff in Jacksonville as we are in South Florida. So like we'd prefer to buy or pay more to own in South Florida. And there's a few reasons for that. One, we already have a portfolio here. We have a position here. I operate here, right? So that's one reason. The other reason is just this market is so much more believable as far as the future goes, right? Certain concerns I have about other cities like Jacksonville, to the point I was making earlier, there's workforce housing there that almost competes with new construction. It's not, the pricing isn't too far apart. when it comes to new apartment inventory loading on, and there's plenty of space to load in new apartment inventory. So they're seeing higher vacancies and lower occupancy and lower rates over time here. And so that's kind of hard to bet on when you could say all of a sudden they could load in another 2,000 apartments in a certain city, and now your rents are, call it softened, right?
Mm.
So whereas South Florida, it's really hard to do that. You can't build anything like for a lower income here at an affordable level. So you just can't do it. It's just not a thing. So that's why I think we're seeing this demand for this product. Like, we're not the only ones that get that. And there's a lot of guys from out of the area that appreciate that, and they'll pay up. So James just made a comment, large corporations essentially buying out the inventory. If you're talking about like the Blackstone of the world buying single family homes and stuff like that, James, we're not really seeing that, right? Like, that's not, and again, I think that's like a percentage point of properties that are owned. More so, yeah, when I compete to buy stuff, I'll compete with like smaller guys, though. Like sub 100 units, you're not seeing these big firms compete with you. But there's, by smaller guys, I mean guys that are worth like $100 million, right? So like versus like the funds that have raised $1 billion to go buy real estate, the Blackstones of the world, right? So that's different. You're not really competing with the Blackstones of the world or these big, huge, massive funds, or even the medium-sized funds when you're buying like a 20-unit building, right? So that stuff is you're still playing with call it individuals or small family offices that are buying up this smaller stuff. And that's just, and there's guys that are just willing to pay up for that stuff. And again, that's super interesting. But yeah, so, and rental prices aren't really, they're a factor, they matter, but for some reason I feel that their math, everybody else that I'm competing with, their math to me just seems like, I don't know how they plan to make money. So, because they just pay numbers that I'm just like, how do you do this? So,
okay, before we move on out of the Redfin predictions, I'm trying not to roll my eyes at a couple of these as we get towards the bottom. I don't know if they ranked these by most reasonable, but as we get towards the bottom, I mean, some make sense, though it's just totally uneducated, like climate risks to affect coastal Florida home prices, as if we don't have climate risks every single year, like it's something new. No, but the one that gets me is number 9 on this list. That reversal of urban flight in blue cities, that pro-business policies and urban improvements in cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles may attract residents back, supported by advancements like autonomous transportation. Have you been to those cities lately? Do you know what they look like? I can tell you this. I mean, basically, under the current administration, they really hadn't changed much. You think it's going to happen starting next year? Oh my goodness, that's all right. Anyway, I'm off my soapbox now. I just would love to like meet the guy who said that.
I don't understand. That's the other stoner in the office, right?
I mean, that'd be great. I mean, obviously, you don't wish ill on any of them, but it's like when you can see how a lot of those cities, without getting too political, very blue places that have not been doing very well. Like, California is suddenly going to bounce back. Like they've suddenly seen the light.
I don't think so. I agree. I would say no to that.
Yeah.
I disagree.
That was a prediction from the editor who lives in California.
There you go.
But anyway, all right. So
this was the final comment I was going to make of this. They made a comment about how coastal Florida see more middle income residents leaving with luxury market remaining strong. And I actually feel like this isn't insane to say this, but this is a trend that's just continued. The affordability issue is more of a thing for the middle income, and South Florida is just so wealthy that you're just seeing all these high-end homes being purchased and built here. And the market doesn't seem to be affected by that as much. So
when I drove by your house today, I saw a couple doors down. They were tearing something down. I was like, oh wow, there goes another one. I mean, I'm watching that neighborhood slowly recycle itself, and what's moving in its place are much larger, much more luxurious homes. So I've been seeing the evolution as well.
A little comment on this too. Like if you compare insurance rates, like for my new construction home versus a home that's not new construction in the area, I sometimes pay less in insurance. And
really?
What?
Because it's a new home.
Yeah, because the insurance companies just love the new construction thing versus anything else. So
That makes
so
sense.
like there's like it's not affordable to own a super expensive brand new home, but there's like other things that are different. Like that's like more affordable, believe it or not. So
Okay.
it's interesting. So anyway, moving on.
All right, we have this Deerfield Beach we need to talk about. It's if
Talk
people
to us,
who
John.
maybe aren't familiar with Deerfield Beach, it's right there north of Pompano Beach, south of Boca Raton. It's a nice. I love the location of Deerfield Beach, and as we look over some of the news headlines to give you an idea of how good things are there. First headline I see is you have an adult flag football league starting up January of next year. That's actually kind of exciting. I'm going to be honest, I may actually look into that.
That's cool.
Yes, for anyone who's interested, the Deerfield Beach Parks and Recreation Department introducing its first adult flag football league to residents and those in the surrounding areas. Beginning next year, January 6th. League will run Mondays from 6:30 to 9:30. You can check it out over at the Oveta McKeithen Recreation Complex. That's on 2nd Street, Southwest 2nd Street. So, wow, $400 per team. Larry, we're going to have to put together a team. We're going to do this.
I'll stand on the
We
sideline.
need at least 7 guys. Let's do this.
I can't even walk right now.
That's right. You're about to have surgery. I wasn't even doing that to be a jerk. Oh, wow. Anyway, I'm on a roll. So let's keep going. We have something construction here. Let's take a look at the Holy Cross Health, which is beginning construction of freestanding emergency department. Larry, what can you tell us about this one?
It's a lot of money to build this. $41 million. Kind of interesting, but awesome. Deerfield Beach has like a U Miami center. So like where they do this, where they do a lot of like CT scans, all that stuff. Right. So there's a number of these facilities in that Deerfield Beach area pretty close by. I mean, 25,000 square foot, pretty big facility, pretty sweet. Overall, I think that's, I'm in the health system a lot, as you know. And so man, this is needed as population grows. And this is just an example of like the strong growth of South Florida and the need for this stuff is evident, and they're supplying it, they're building it. So overall good, more employment for the area, more, good jobs too, right? Like the healthcare jobs are pretty solid jobs, I think, like, paid well and require some technical know-how, right? So yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Next up, we have Deerfield Beach has received a $3.3 million grant for Sawgrass to Seagrass Center. This is at Sullivan Park. The Museum of Discovery and Science teaming up with Deerfield Beach Community Redevelopment Agency to develop a new marine science center at Sullivan Park. MODS was selected for this partnership due to its leadership in environmental education through several prominent regional, state, and national initiatives. So be excited, Larry.
I'm pumped. Let's go.
That headline confuses me a little. What Sawgrass to Seagrass? I mean, I understand Sullivan Park, but I was like, oh, is that play on words?
The facility looks pretty cool. It looks pretty awesome. It's pretty solid. It's a pretty big facility. What did they say? $8.1 million for construction, right? Sullivan Park, which is 10,000 square foot facility. So pretty solid. Pretty awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your WhatsApp's going crazy right now.
I know, that's what's distracting me. It's a contractor that's finishing a renovation of one of the houses we're selling, and he's sending me all these photos.
That's exciting.
Yep.
Sending you a lot of pictures. All right, so we have some of the development projects, as we talk about every week. We will start off with the Rosewood Residences. This is at Hillsboro Beach, oceanfront condos. And this is a related group. These are development. A $307 million construction loan obtained for this project. So it looks like Stephen M. Ross's company is not only working in just West Palm Beach. They have a lot of stuff going on. This one at Millionaire's Mile.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool. For people who don't understand the area, we didn't really pull up the map too much yet, but Deerfield's kind of unique. It's kind of smaller than some of the other cities. It has, I don't want to insult anybody, but it has a little less going on than say Pompano, right?
Yeah.
Right. Or like all those construction projects we talked about in Boynton, or obviously West Palm but so like Deerfield's a little different. It's a little smaller. a little less beachfront than some of the other cities. And Hillsboro Mile is basically again, I don't want to insult anybody. It's basically Deerfield. It's just south, and it's different though, right? So here's Hillsboro Boulevard. You would cross over here to be on Hillsboro Beach, and you'd head south to Hillsboro Mile, which is, and I'll be able to find this on the map here pretty quickly, which is where this new project is. Hillsboro Mile, as you could probably tell, as you get closer down south here, you can see this is Millionaire's Mile, basically, beyond a lot of the condo complexes and stuff. And you could see almost like where, almost up north, close to West Palm, this is similar setup where you have access to the Intracoastal with your big yacht, as an example here.
Yeah.
And then
that's nice when your yacht's so big that you can spot it on the satellite map with Google.
How awesome is this? This thing's huge. So you see there's a number of homes just like this that are on Millionaire Mile, and it's just south of Deerfield Beach, basically, which is pretty cool. And so, again, as we said, like, this guy's keeping his yacht here. He doesn't even have a house.
I didn't even notice that. That's how distracting the huge yacht was. He's like, just to keep the land for, potential projects. I'm just going to live on the yacht.
It's really cool. They do a good job, guys, of Christmas lights. Most of them put up holiday lights along here. So driving around here during this time of year is pretty cool. So yes, and this is where Related Group has acquired that location or that land. And so just to zoom out a little bit, you cross over here, and then you're in Pompano Beach, right? This is Pompano, and so Hillsboro or Millionaire's Mile is right here, and so let's just find this location. Why can't I find it right now? Here, hold on.
I was going to say, in terms of ocean access, I feel like a lot of people that I interact with, that the inlet right there, the Hillsboro one, it seems to be a popular spot. Everybody always taking pictures by the lighthouse, and
so that's the main. And so, like, part of this, what's awesome about this area for these, I don't think it says Millionaire Mile, but I mean, you have to have a lot of money to own property here. You can't just be an average millionaire, right? These homes,
that's very relative now.
50, 60, 70, 100 million. I think there's a note here that in 2015, this is kind of a crazy stat here, crazy factoid here. In 2015, Playa Vista Isle was the most expensive U.S. home listed at $159 million. So that was one of the most expensive homes in the area at that time, listed in the country. But it actually did end up selling in 2018 for $42.2 million at a substantial discount. But still $42 million, right? So, and that was in 2018, pre COVID, et cetera.
Yeah, before that big jump.
So you can imagine, but here's the comment I was going to make. Proximity to the inlet, which is the inlet you want to use, especially if you have a major boat, this is the inlet you want to go out of. It's a little bit more navigable than some of the others in the area. You have an immediate access, right, to wherever you're going. So
is that a fixed bridge? I'm suddenly drawing a blank.
It's not a fixed bridge.
It's not fixed. Okay.
Yeah. And this gets pretty busy, pretty busy. I've gone through there on pretty busy days. But either way, that's why this area is so sought after, or why these have been developed like they are. So it's pretty unique location.
Now, I mean, I guess this would seem obvious. I never really thought about it, but when you talk about a lot of those intracoastal properties, as you get closer to the inlets, does the value naturally go up? Generally speaking, I mean, I would imagine so, but
yeah, I think on like Millionaire's Mile there, it's like it's all close, so it's fine, right? Mm-hmm. But like, yes, the theme is like if you own a waterfront property and if you're not behind a fixed bridge, if you're close and quick to get out to the inlet, usually your home is worth more because of that, or your property, the dirt is worth more because of that. So on the other side here, for anyone's reference, you have so like on the mainland, not on the island. This is all Deerfield, but right around here, you change over to Lighthouse Point, right? So Lighthouse Point is right across the way, and Lighthouse Point is well known for being very popular for boaters. The canals are pretty wide, so it's it's pretty solid boater location. Again, primarily because of your proximity. If you're in Lighthouse Point and you're not behind a fixed bridge, you can have a pretty big boat, pretty wide canals, and you can get access to the intercoastal, or I'm sorry, the ocean really quickly through this inlet. So Hillsboro Inlet. So yeah. So let's talk about this. So again, so one of the reasons this new build, or this new building, which our boys at Related are putting up and underway. We were actually invited over there recently. The team was over there doing their thing, checking it out in advance of as they're getting ready to break ground and do their thing. But what I was going to comment on is they have some slips available here, or they will for obviously residents. I think it's around 11 slips, if I remember correctly. Yep, 11 boat slips here. So that will be a desirable thing for boaters, quick access, again, to go fishing or whatever you want to do. Also, being in Broward County, there tends to be, at least in it like compared to Boca, there's no real waterfront dining. But here, right here by Hillsboro Boulevard Bridge, you have the Cove, which is a great waterfront restaurant.
That's right. Yeah.
And then if you head south here, there's like some cool places like Shooters and stuff, like as you get into Pompano and Fort Lauderdale, right? So it becomes more interesting and fun to like pop in and jump off and get food and stuff, or drinks, whatever you want to do. So Boca's not as fun for that, right?
All right, this is a crazy question. Just you bring up a great point. I had never really thought about it. Those slips, when they put in places, are those privately owned, the property, or would the city of Deerfield Beach buy those to make them more accessible for boaters? How does that generally work? I've never even thought about that.
So for this community at Rosewood, this is going to be owned by Rosewood Residences. So either they will, there's usually two ways they do it. They either deed them per the unit, like if you buy a unit and you want to buy a deed to the dock or the slip as well, you can do that. I don't know if Rosewood is doing that or if they're doing the other way, where basically it's, they'll continue to rent them at a discounted rate for residences and so somebody might be able to rent it, and then they continue to rent it until they no longer have a boat or don't want to use it anymore, and then it goes back into the queue, and the first person in line gets the opportunity to rent it. So, or these might just be like, hey, temporary, like couple day type things. Because again, like comment about just having slips here, it's kind of interesting. This can get a little wakey right here.
Yeah, it's a very narrow strip. I mean, relative to some of the other parts when you're moving up and down the intracoastal.
Well, also people move pretty quick right here versus some other areas they're not moving as fast, and so that's part of it too. Like you could see that there's no boats, no slips here, right? There's a reason for that. They're all in the protected area, right? So, and that goes for like a number of other areas. Like this is unique, but you probably can see here, all these guys are on lifts, right? They're on lifts because it's too wakey. So I don't know what they're going to do here. They'll probably put some lifts in, would be my guess, some big boy lifts to keep some decent sized boats, or maybe they have this like protection element here. I don't know what they're doing, but we'll find out as they move forward. Let's talk about Rosewood though. This is kind of interesting. They paid about $30 million for this dirt in 2020. Good time to buy the dirt, which is interesting. And I think you may have said this already, but $307 million construction loan. That's a big boy loan, even for the big boys, in my opinion. Right. So
Steve Ross doesn't mess around.
Yeah. So, and we were talking about, I was talking about this with a buddy of mine. We're saying, oh my God, that's a lot of money that's a big loan for a project like this. Cause you and I have been tracking these things and we know what they're paying and what their construction loans are in Boynton, in Pompano. And they're like 100, 130, right? For pretty big projects. And this guy's just no problem, double that. Right. So it's like, it's kind of nuts. And so we were like, mate, why? Like even the Waldorf, they didn't have a loan this big, right? So, but I guess, Rosewood is, a newer, a fresh brand, if you will. And so hopefully they'll be able to drive those prices to that they're going to look for, since they're spending so much money building this thing, right? 92 residences, 70 beachfront condos, 22 villas, 2 to 5 bedrooms, 6 oceanfront penthouses. Very cool, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
For those that don't want to live on their yacht, they have villas.
Yeah, and Gabby was asking, or I think, this is Gabby. She was asking, why do you think the loan is so much larger? I don't know. I mean, there's probably some complexity here with building over there, I'm sure. This is not a huge parcel. What did we say the size? How much dirt is this? Do we have it? Oh, it's 11.8. It's actually bigger than I thought at first. So yeah. That's what we were talking about. I don't know why. This is a big project though, and the finishes are going to be. This is probably going to be one of the nicer new construction communities here in the area, like for sure. So
that's saying something.
Yeah, right. And I mean, the projects we've talked about. I mean, you got a lot of, like I said, you got a lot of big boys playing here, and this is bigger. So kind of interesting. It's a little bit more boutique-esque, 90 something residences. So, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on.
All right. So let's move on to the Sandpiper Point Homes, which is located at 830 Sandpiper Point. This is a Toll Brothers project. And for anybody who's not familiar with the Sandpiper Point Place, that's locations off Military Trail north of Southwest 10th Street. Hopefully gives you a little better idea. This project is expected to be a 201 two-story townhomes. That's interesting. With residential unit sizes, 1,800 and 1,900 square feet, 3 bed, 3 bath. There will be 4 floor plans available and a whole list of amenities. Larry, what else do you know about this project?
We are selling one in here right now, which I was trying to pull up so I can give an example of what these are looking like. The client we're working with loves this community, loves it. I mean, we know it, but and I do think it's a pretty cool for the value. I think it's pretty good it's an efficient use of your dollar. Overall, I mean, it's great location. All the other things that come with new construction here are great, but it's just it's great. So this community was already completed. So and they did a pretty good job. Yeah, we're closing one of these in a couple weeks. I think 27th we're closing on one of these. So you can kind of see price range here. And so we negotiated a pretty sweet deal for the one. I think we got this one under contract. This one 625. We are substantially below that. So anyway, I'd say we're gonna be kind of towards this range here when all is said and done, which is great. So she's getting a great deal. And they're 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1 or 2 car garage, 1,800-ish square feet. Most of them are the similar size. There's some that are a little bit bigger, but for the most part, similar floor plans. I'll give you an example of what this one looks like. I'm just randomly picking them so you can see. So pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, these are nice. Yes. I remember seeing the video now of.
Yeah. You probably know this. Yeah. Cause
actually all the videos come through. It's like, addresses oftentimes mean nothing, but then I see pictures like, oh yeah, I remember this.
Yeah. So cool little backyards, like good little green space, cute little townhomes, 2 stories. It kind of checks all the boxes, I think. And so they're basically new construction, in my opinion, 2021, 2022. Looks like some of these actually finished even later than that, 23, 24. So different sections were finished at different times, which is cool. So good new construction product, pretty east overall, like right off Military and 10th, which is a pretty efficient location to be in. You're still relatively east in a pretty good neighborhood, a really good neighborhood. And then you could just jump east and go to the beach if you want. 95, super efficient. Southwest 10th is efficient because, as we all know, you could take that all the way to Sawgrass and your Turnpike, wherever you want to go. That's pretty sweet. So good spot, I think, in Deerfield, and good location. So I'd recommend that if you're in this price point, that high 5s, low 6s range, you could pull something off in here and you have something new, and it's a great area. So.
Okay. Yeah. All right. As we continue to move along, we also have the Hillsboro Crossing. This is at 3851 North Dixie Highway. These got underway in July of last year. Construction costs at just over $40 million. The developer is FernCore. These are apartments. Larry, are you familiar with this project?
I drive by it.
Hey, you know what? That's a start.
Yeah. So we've compared this project to other projects that we deal with sometimes, vacant land. So we've compared this to this as an example for some of our clients who are considering some of the bigger vacant land purchases. There are some vacant land opportunities in Deerfield that we've bumped into over the years, and so this is the location, right? Again, East Deerfield, kind of closer to Pompano. Right off the highway. Good looking building overall. It's like in the process of being finished. I believe. I think you may have said this already. Construction costs $40 million. So think about this: $40 million for this versus
307. Yeah,
we just talked about. So yeah, so they're not really done with this yet, or they're very close to finishing this. This is a great. This is like a necessity for this area. We need more good, decent, apartment buildings to choose from to keep things somewhat affordable in this area. And so this is great. So
and you mentioned that too. I mean, that's one of the biggest challenges with South Florida is trying to have affordable housing for the working class. It's a huge challenge. And with more of the baby boomers retiring and so on, it seems like it's getting increasingly difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And they're spending $40 million to build this. If you go to Jacksonville, there's land to build, and it's probably way cheaper to build this thing. So different construction materials, et cetera. So yeah.
Well, I know you probably can't give a I don't know. I'm sure you have theories on it. Why is the real estate so much cheaper up there? You're still in Florida. You're still on the coast. It's still a very comparable climate. Why? I just find it interesting that there's such a discrepancy between the two places.
I was about to pull up Jacksonville and give you my download, but then I'm like, this is South Florida.
Don't want to give away all the secrets. Yeah.
Yeah. So the answer is there's like a lot of space in Jacksonville. It's a big area, and there's open space. It's what's the word I want to use? It's like a lower elevation city in the sense like there's not like huge skyscrapers in like it is in Fort Lauderdale or on the coast. Like, you don't have all these huge condo buildings along the coast in Jax. And Jax is just different. So there's more land, and there's more space to build out there, and there's more development. It's a real city. It's growing. It's interesting overall.
Yeah, I mean, they've had that NFL team for like 25 years. Yeah. I mean, since the mid 90s, that's why I've only driven through there once or twice. I'm not very familiar with Jacksonville versus some of the places like Miami or Fort Lauderdale, et cetera. Yeah, I'm always interested by that there would be such a discrepancy in the real estate values. So not all Florida cities are built the same.
No, yeah, but Jacksonville is an interesting city overall. It's just different. South Florida is unique and special for so many reasons. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. As we come back to South Florida, we have the Mela Hillsboro and Hillsboro Center. This one located at 700 West Hillsboro Boulevard, a mixed-use project. The site cost was $32.5 million. That was back in 2019. And what do you know? They haven't actually started the project yet. This comes from developer Grover Corlew. Larry, are you familiar with this one at all?
So to your point, they haven't finished it, or they haven't even started.
I don't even think they've broken ground.
Yeah, they haven't. So this goes back. This is like the classic Boynton Beach developer mode right now, right? It's like, why aren't they doing anything here? This sucks. So let me show you where it is. 360 units though. And as you mentioned, they bought it back in 2019, $32 million. Expected to finish late 2025. Well, I don't know about that.
No. That's starting. That's why
that's start date. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. So yeah, start date pretty late. 16 acre parcel, decent sized parcel for, it's pretty cool. And it looks like their location is right in this area. So this is a big project.
Right off the highway,
Yep.
Hillsboro Boulevard, one of the main drags. I mean, it seems like it's a great location.
Yeah. Who knows? They may have tenant issues. I don't know what they got to deal with here. But there's things that are holding them up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Hillsboro Center includes a 6-story, 116 Class A office tower, So there's a lot. They got some things to deal with here. They've also been approved for the demolition of the 45,000 square foot existing 2-story office space at the site. Renovations of the existing office building within the Hillsboro Center is expected. So there's a number. They got work to do here.
But
this is cool.
So so they're trying to incorporate the old with the new to a certain extent.
Yeah, they probably upzoned this, changed things around, made a proposal, got approved, and they're working through things. We don't have any loan details on this at the moment, and that's the signal when people start building, right? Loan issued for $100 million, then you know there's
maybe that's why, and maybe that's why they haven't broken ground on it yet.
Yep. So
okay,
cool.
So we also have the B Hillsboro. This one located at 1951 E Hillsboro Beach Boulevard. Condos developed by the AFIN Developer Group. It's one of the smaller projects, it looks like.
They're saying completion date 2025. This is what it looks like here, and I'm going to show you the location, which is kind of interesting. So this project's right here off of Hillsboro Boulevard, right as you cross over the bridge. There's been some construction to some other locations here too. Like in downtown, there's a few, I call this downtown. It's not really downtown. In the beach area, there's a few other things going on, but I haven't seen them break. I got to look closer when I drive by this, and I live very close to here. I haven't watched this or what's going on here. So they claim they were supposed to start in 2020, but I don't think that's happening here right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, since we're talking about the downtown area now, if we want to move along and maybe discuss some of the restaurant openings and dining scene in the area, because I find that little spot, it's very homely. It stands out to me because I always ask you about Brews Room, which I was gonna say is that the location that stayed open?
No, it's not. This is the location. Well, that's not it, but
that's right. Yeah, that Kilwin's right there, and
yeah. So, and they haven't filled it yet. I haven't seen a new coming soon sign or who's coming in here. I don't think they've added a new restaurant or whatever sports bar to that location. But so that, for anyone who's not privy to what's going on in South Florida, Brews Room was pretty popular for its wings. It was a cool sports bar, and there was a number of them. There's one in Del Rey, one in Deerfield, one in Pompano. There's more than that. They were scattered throughout, and they were awesome for wings. There's one Brews Room still open, I believe, and we still order from there quite often. It's in Pompano, so a little out west. But it's interesting that they all of a sudden just shut down because they were so well liked overall. It was pretty cool. But yeah, Deerfield Beach. We have some things on the list to talk about, but we also, but there's also, like, I know Deerfield so well. We could talk for days about some cool places. I don't know. Did we put? We may not put it on here. Whale's Rib is awesome, right?
Yes,
this place is pretty cool.
I think that was featured on one of the
right
shows. Yeah, but that might have been one of Guy Fieri's.
I think so. So totally, Whale's Rib is a cool little hole in the wall spot. Like, you take a look at what it looks like here, right? Let's see if it has the classic their meal here. What is it? Whale juice? I'm probably saying,
I've been by there. I have not been there. It's on the list.
It's cool. It's a cool spot. They got some good food here, but worth checking out. Yeah. What's cool also about Deerfield is especially if you're like live in Boca or Del Rey, or some of the other surrounding areas, it's cool to have dinner or lunch on the beach, and you could do that here. Pompano obviously has some of those restaurants too. Boca doesn't really have that. There's not really much development on the beach as far as restaurants go in Boca. So people who want to have lunch on the beach or dinner on the beach, they come down to Deerfield, and Boca is literally, this is Boca. So you're like crossing over from Boca to Deerfield right here.
Right. And it's like A1A like transforms into this small little road, which I mean, it's fine if you're here to stay. I mean, maybe that's why they set it up that way, but that's what it's like, that whole scene right there with the restaurants and bars and the pier and the beach. No, I think that's to me the jewel of Deerfield Beach from what I've seen from a social aspect.
Yeah, and it's cool. The beach is cool. It's more laid back than most beaches. There's a lot of action here on the beach. The pier is really cool. So overall, it's a cool little spot to hang out. There's not a ton of parking. There's parking right here. And then there's some parking here and here, which fills up in minutes. And then you can kind of park along the street sometimes here. You could see it, right? And so it's cool also, like if you're visiting, staying at the Wyndham or something, nothing super, super fancy like South Florida, like all the other stuff we talk about in South Florida, but it's cool. It's just a laid back, chill, like beach bum town, if you will.
No, it's exactly what I envision as part of the whole small beach town scene for sure.
There's scuba diving right here. You can kind of see it. These are the reefs, right? So what's cool about this is you can obviously go dive these from a boat and come out, and the diving is like out here somewhere. But you can also I've done a number of beach dives, night beach dives too, from here. Actually, usually we came in like somewhere like over here, wherever it is. We used to park and then just come to the beach and with a group and go do the dive, which is pretty cool. And there's like tons of fish and octopus and all that stuff. So yeah, it's cool.
All right. Well,
cool.
It's good to know. I was going to say, I feel like if we go a little too far into this, we'll run out of time. Of course, we have, some of the events that are happening this month. Actually, one of which is tomorrow. You have the Santa Calling, who makes, what is it? I guess you can go check out Santa Claus. He's making telephone calls to young children. That is tomorrow at the Middle School Aquatic Center from 6 to 8 p.m. I guess that's open to the public. If you want to see Santa make calls, he'll do it.
Doing it.
And then the next night, that'll be December 13th. You have Movies in the Park, which is Candy Cane Lane. Pack up your car, grab your blankets and chairs for a movie under the stars. It's a free event. I've never heard of Candy Cane Lane, so
neither have I.
I don't know.
Sounds awesome.
I was thinking of Candyland, like the old board game, but we're old, Larry. I don't know what to tell you.
We're getting old.
Hey,
and on that note, it's almost my bedtime. So
you do have a big day tomorrow.
I got a big day. So.
All right. Well, once again, thank you to anybody who tuned in to learn a little more about Deerfield Beach. We always appreciate feedback and discussing all things South Florida. Larry, anything else you'd like to add?
We'll see you guys next week.
Sounds good. All right, guys.